We're going to go ahead and get started. I know we have a limited group, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to welcome everyone in attendance this evening and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen and provide us with your input to the Facilities Strategic Planning Committee's recommendations. I'd also like to thank the members of this committee, not only for their willingness to participate, but also for their willingness to engage in frank and honest conversations regarding the challenges this district faces and will continue to face in the coming years with regard to facilities and student enrollments. I commend this committee for working through many options while deliberating over two very important considerations in this plan. One, how can we adjust and right-size our facilities if we continue to experience declining student enrollment? And two, how can we adjust with our existing facilities if student enrollment on the other side increases? These are conflicting outlooks, and listening to voices from different perspectives helped us consider all options that might be available to address both of these different problems. Everyone on this committee volunteered numerous hours to arrive at the recommendations that will be shared with the Kent County Board of Education in February. Through robust conversations and numerous revisions, we formulated the recommendations that you will hear this evening. Recommendations that will not only address our immediate facility needs, but allow us opportunities to make internal adjustments for declining and increased student enrollments. We have also included a process in the plan that will allow the district more time to gather additional information that will help guide us into the future with a vision for our district and for the students that we serve. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lieber, who will be presenting the recommendations from the committee. I would just like to briefly inform the people in attendance tonight his credentials. He is a registered architect with the state of Maryland. He has a doctorate of architecture and urban design from Rice University, and he spent 13 years with the public school construction program for the state of Maryland. And he's been involved in development of the annual state capital improvement programs for the state and for all of our school systems in Maryland. So he brings a great deal of knowledge and expertise to the committee. And I would also like to thank Dr. Lieber for helping us with the development of our plan as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Lieber. After his presentation, we will allow opportunities for your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Couch. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take you through the recommendations. Before I do, I need to give you some background information, and I'm sorry for those of you who this might be repetitious, but there will be people in the audience who will be new to this, and so I do want to show you the thinking of the committee that led them to the recommendations. And then there'll be the opportunity for questions and answers, as Dr. Couch said. There are four major factors that have influenced the development of the recommendations. First of all, enrollment projections from the current school year to 2027 school year show basically the total enrollment will be stable and flat. There will be an increase in the enrollment at the elementary school, which is just about exactly matched by a decrease in the enrollment in the middle school and the high school. And this is assuming modest housing growth. If you take away the housing growth, then we'll see a decline of about 124 students in the school system. Second factor are demographic projections. The county's total population is projected to grow by about 3,300 between 2010 and 2030, according to Maryland Department of Planning. But that growth will be almost entirely within the population which is 45 years and older. The population, which is under 44 and younger, will in fact be declining by about 9%. And that, of course, is the population which is preschool, the school-age population, and then the younger families who are having children. And so this reinforces the view that the enrollments will be either stable or will decline. And you can see the two pie charts here. In 2010, the age 45 and older was 51% of the population. By 2030, is projected to be 61% of the population, with a corresponding decline in the younger population. Now, a lot of things could change that in specific parts of the county. The fiber optics that have been installed or being installed, the road improvements, and then there could be unique developments too. So this whole picture can, of course, change. The third factor is facility utilization. Utilization is a form of calculation where the enrollment is divided by what's called the state-ready capacity. It's a measure that's used across the state by the state government to determine the carrying capacity of the school. And what you see is that the total utilization of the schools is about 65%. It's going to stay more or less like that. With declining enrollment, it would tend to go down. You see that the elementary schools, if you're looking at the charts on the right, the three elementary schools have a pretty healthy utilization in the 70%, 80% range, but the secondary schools, the middle school and the high school, are underutilized. And so the total would be about 65%. Now, the point that I'd like to make is that facility utilization does not necessarily mean that there are empty spaces in the school. It's a paper calculation. But you can have plenty of instances where a school can be underutilized on paper, and yet every space will be used. I can give a couple of examples. You need to have science classrooms for all grade levels in middle school and high school. You might have less than the full complement of students to fill that space. You don't want to put grade levels together. For instance, 7th grade math and 8th grade math are different curriculums. They can't be in the same room at the same time. Special needs students require smaller spaces for one-on-one instruction or small group instruction. That tends to use the spaces within a school. And then in high schools, you can get specialized programs which might be supported by the Board of Education. They might align with the economic development or other plans that the county has, and yet you might only have a small number of students who are interested in that particular subject. I think the middle school shows this very clearly. State-ready capacity is 678. The enrollment right now is 449. That suggests that there's a lot of space available. But in fact, if you go there, you see that every space is being utilized. In fact, I'll show that it's actually lacking a number of spaces. And then the fourth factor that was looked at is the age and the condition of the facilities. Kent County Public Schools has the second oldest school system square footage in the state of Maryland. Only Baltimore City has older square footage. And the facilities are generally in significant need of renovation and upgrades. The most recently built facility was Kent County High, the facility we're in, 1971. The most recent complete renovation was Kent County Middle in 1976. Almost all areas of the schools are over 40 years old. They have received a significant amount of investment in terms of building systems that have been upgraded, but there's been very little attention given to the educational quality of the spaces. The schools, however, are very well maintained, as you can see by somebody walking through this school. So the committee established three major goals. First, to improve the learning environment with instructionally appropriate spaces, upgraded building systems, and ADA accessibility. Second, align the buildings with student enrollments. As Dr. Couch said, we don't really know if the enrollments are going to go up or go down. Things can change. We have to have flexibility to be able to go in either direction. And then provide a more financially sustainable support infrastructure, and that means a reduction of the fixed costs that are associated with buildings, heating, cooling, maintenance, water, and so forth. Briefly, I'd like to just discuss the cost of ownership. Every physical asset, whether you're talking about an automobile, whether you're talking about a home, whether you're talking about a school facility, carries certain costs of ownership. The industry typically lumps these into four baskets. Capital expenditure, or CapEx for short. These are scheduled replacements of building systems. Deferred maintenance is funds that are targeted at items that were not taken care of on schedule. Program expenditure is money that's expended to adjust to new curriculum requirements, new demographic requirements, capacity issues, mandates that might come from the state or that are determined by the local board. And then maintenance and operations is your day-to-day custodial work, heating, cooling, routine small-scale maintenance. Industry has established certain standards for the level of ownership costs associated with each of these baskets. It's generally based on current replacement value of the facility or the entire school system. And the current replacement value of Kent County Public Schools, based on about 440,000 square feet in the 5 educational facilities, is estimated at about $162 million, based on current construction costs and reasonable factors for site work contingency. So with that, if you were following industry standards of 2% per year investment for capital expenditure, if you were thinking that you'd like to erase your deferred maintenance in 10 years, put 1% into program improvements, the result is that there should be an expenditure of about $5.8 million average per year. Now, when I say 2% for CapEx, that doesn't mean you replace 2% of the roof every year, 2%, 4%, 6%. What it does mean is you either set the money aside, knowing that you're going to have to replace the roof in 20 years, or else you simply plan for that as part of your capital program, knowing these expenditures are going to be coming. And this chart, which comes from industry literature, I think explains this pretty clearly. The top level line is what you might call the BMW level of facility. Everything is just perfect and it stays that way throughout the life of the facility. It's a BMW owner who can afford BMW. We work more at the Buick level. We have good, sturdy schools, they're very functional, but they don't have all the bells and whistles you get with the BMW. If you provide routine maintenance, then you get the solid curve. And what you see is that it kind of plateaus for a number of years and then gradually begins to decline, and then the decline accelerates quite quickly to a point of failing performance. And maybe a little bit small to see, but sorry. Here, it's this one. Failing performance here is a level where a school simply can't be occupied. It should either be abandoned or should be demolished. And you will come to that in a 50-year building, in, let's say, at year 50, if you don't renovate and upgrade significantly in the meantime. If you don't put routine money in, then you get the dashed line, and the time to failure is accelerated quite a lot, to the point where you simply can't use the facility or shouldn't use it. The process we've used here, the process began on August 14th with the board's approval of the committee. The Strategic Planning Committee has met 6 times between August 17th and November 27th, covering a range of issues. We have 3 community listening sessions at the end of September to meet the committee, to discuss the issues, and to hear the community's opinions and their expectations. We're having the countywide community meeting tonight. The Strategic Planning Committee, members are seated here at the tables, will be meeting again next week to consider any input and to confirm the recommendations, and then it goes to the Board of Education on February 12th, hopefully for approval. Assumptions have been made in moving forward in this plan. First of all, that the operating budget will remain restricted, and that means that maintenance and operational resources have to be used very, very efficiently. It also means we have to reduce the fixed costs as much as possible, as I mentioned before, heating, cooling, maintenance, water, insurance. So that implies the facilities have to be protected. Nothing is more expensive than an emergency repair. So you have to protect your facilities against that kind of outcome. And at the same time, we make the effort to reduce the square footage, the total square footage of the facility, and that aligns with the goal I stated earlier to align the facilities with the enrollment projections of the student body. The second assumption is about the Wharton campus. The Wharton campus provides the flexibility to respond to enrollment changes, whether they go up or whether they go down. It's possible to use that campus to make the adjustments. The fact that there is the county recreational facility nearby and also Wharton Park provides many opportunities for the students and turns it into a genuine county campus. The implication here is the board should retain ownership of all of the facilities that are located on the campus. And then the third set of assumptions has to do with the number and configuration of the schools. First of all, that the current configuration should be retained. That means 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Implicit in that is do not convert the elementary schools to K-8 schools. There are many benefits to K-8, but in the case of Kent County Public Schools, we don't think that would be a prudent move for a number of reasons. There's difficulty in finding the staffing, and you would have to staff these schools equitably in order to provide the full middle school program. There would have to be capital improvements. You can't simply move middle school's kids into an elementary school and still be able to provide them the full range of curriculum offerings that are necessary in the middle school curriculum. And there are site constraints at 2 of the schools that would prevent expansion or could raise the cost of expansion. And then what happens if the enrollments do decline and you have made these very significant capital investments? We also don't believe that the middle school and the high school program should be consolidated. They should remain as separate administrations, separate programs. That doesn't mean that they can't be co-located with the appropriate kinds of separations and safeguards and programmatic differences. And then Kent County Middle School, a tremendous amount of the discussion focused on this particular facility. Part of what's driving this is that the roof will have to be replaced within 3 to 5 years. It is leaking now. There may be underlying structural reasons why that's happening. There's no danger of collapse. But the continuing movement of the structure means that no matter how many repairs you make, leaks are going to keep developing in that facility. The school also is significantly deficient to provide the kinds of spaces that are required for a middle school program, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So before making the major investment to replace the roof and take care of the structural issues, decisions should be made. Retain the facility and improve it, or relocate the facility. So with this, we came to sets of recommendations. The committee came to recommendations. Short-term recommendations that will stabilize the school facilities. These are in the next 0 to 4 years. Long-term planning initiatives that will address the secondary schools, surplus to school facilities or former school facilities, and then smaller projects under the Qualified Zone Academy Bond Program. Now, I have put in parentheses, subject to federal approval program. We learned earlier this week that because of the tax legislation that just passed, the federal government is not supporting this program this year, and therefore the state is not going to support it. So we have to now rethink those projects and how they're going to be funded. Now, in terms of cost estimates, it's always a very important part of any major plan like this. I've covered the usual costs that you would expect: the building costs, the site costs, design contingency if there are educational enhancements included in a project, construction contingency, and then what we call project development costs, soft costs for sure. Costs are projected to the midpoint of construction, and we take escalation at 4% per year, which has been a pretty good number the last couple of years. But now it's starting to hear that escalation is going up because, again, the level of activity, particularly in the Baltimore, Washington area. There are many factors that can affect the future costs, and so this is by way of warning that these costs could change quite a bit. Project scope, unforeseen conditions, the location of the project, timing of the project, market conditions at the time of bid, and also the level of competition that's received. So keeping all that in mind as you look at these costs. The capital projects to stabilize facilities and improve efficiency. First of all, the Wharton Elementary School, former Wharton Elementary School, would be repurposed as the Board of Education offices. They would move from the Rockall facility to the Wharton Elementary School with minor improvements. That would happen this fall. Rockall Elementary roof would be replaced. That would be finished in autumn of 2019. Helena Elementary School, completion in the spring of 2021, a base scope, replacement of the roof and the mechanical system, with daylighting of interior spaces, and then, depending on the budget, a number of targeted alternative renovations, and I've given the list here, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And then finally, replacement of the Kent County High School roof, completed in the winter of 2021. Now, the schedule, of course, assumes that the funding will be available from both the state and the local government. So if funding cannot be made available in any particular year, the schedule will have to be extended. The Wharton Elementary School use of that former facility for board offices makes a lot of sense. It's a central location in the county. It's located near the high school, and that creates certain synergies which I think are very effective. It's also located near the bus depot, and then it has the potential to have some space that might be leased for other purposes. The total cost is budgeted at $300,000. The two roof projects, I think, are self-explanatory. Staff has provided the prioritization here based on their very intimate knowledge of the deficiencies in these two schools. Helena is a more complex situation. The roof does have to be replaced. I've been on that roof at least 3 times, and it's very, very deficient. The mechanical system, the rooftop units have reached the end of their useful life. Replacement of those two systems can't wait. The introduction of natural light into the classrooms of the interior, there are a number of classrooms and the media center which don't receive any natural light whatsoever. And so to do that at the same time makes a great deal of sense. Also, to bring air conditioning to the gymnasium, which now has heating but has no air conditioning. And the net result of the changes will be a much more energy efficient building. The alternates are listed here. A security vestibule at the front entrance, shown here. Second is to correct the ADA deficiencies of the building. Right now, for someone who is disabled, who is, say, in a classroom here and needs to come to the administration office to this classroom here, the only route is either through the media center like that or through this corridor like that. And so the proposal is to put in an interior corridor here and create a road up, follow the staircase here so that any individual has access to all of the spaces in the school. Out of that, you also have some found space here, which could be used for storage, it could be used as a small resource room. The third set of improvements has to do with the cafeteria and the circulation right here, which presents a tremendous bottleneck, especially with the increase of enrollment from the closing of Bloomington particularly, has increased the number of students. And so you have students going into the cafeteria at the same time that other students are leaving for recreation here. And the proposal is to create a vestibule, to relocate the serving line from inside the kitchen into the space here. That will improve the efficiency of the kitchen itself, and then to capture a classroom here as an auxiliary cafeteria. And I think that what that would do is relieve some of the pressure on that circulation node. And then the fourth set has to do with making the bathrooms ADA compliant. Right now, they're not ADA compliant, and the fixtures are not water efficient, so there are significant improvements there. Now, please note that the prioritization here is very preliminary, and in fact, there would be a committee that would be established. So we'll have to go through this in detail to establish the appropriate scope. The long-term planning projects have to do with Kent County Middle School. The proposal is that, first of all, an educational specification should be developed, which would define the educational program. And then following that, if the board accepts the educational specification, a feasibility study would be undertaken that would look at the options that are available for renovation and relocation. The committee did look at a number of those options, and the range is very, very great in terms of cost, in terms of the impact on transportation and education. So all of that would have to be studied in a good deal of detail through the feasibility study. The middle school as it is now, as I mentioned, it has major deficiencies in building systems, but also major deficiencies in the learning environment. Some of the systems that are listed here, the roof, the possible structural issue, mechanical system, electrical and lighting, it doesn't have an elevator, toilets not ADA compliant, ceiling tile that needs to be continually replaced, and there are a number of renovation items that are needed as well. Just to show you the educational deficiencies, contemporary middle school requirements, if you project an enrollment of 413 students and operate at an efficiency of 90%, which is considered to be a very good efficiency in terms of flexibility and at the same time good occupancy of spaces, you would be 460 seats. That's about 64,800 square feet, net square feet. And an efficiency target of 70%. That's the ratio between net square footage and gross square footage. Gross square footage includes things like the walls, structure, elevators, bathrooms, and so forth. You would need a facility of about 92,600 gross square feet. The existing facility is 78,785. That suggests that to fully meet an educational program, you need an addition on that school of about 13,800 square feet. And you can go through the list of instructional programs, where a large number of them, which are quite adequate, as they are now, particularly the classrooms are, major physical education facilities are adequate. The two large spaces for music are as much square footage as you can need, and so on down the list. And at the same time, you can see, going through an analysis of the school against a kind of a fictive ed spec, but there are a lot of deficiencies, particularly special education. There's a deficiency of 5 spaces. Science classroom, 1 science classroom missing. There are only 2 for 3 grade levels. The science classrooms don't have storage prep areas or chemical storage. These are safety issues. In the music suite, there's no storage. There's no library space for either instrumental or for general music. There are no practice rooms. Technology education is missing altogether, and collaborative learning is missing. Now, I've highlighted the science and the technology because those are intrinsic to the middle school program. So their absence really is affecting the ability of the school to deliver the educational program. There's also qualitative problems with the spaces. 7 classrooms have no natural light. 3 of the classrooms are only accessible through other spaces or through the main outdoors or through the media center. There's no possibility for team teaching or groupings, and there's an absence of project and collaborative spaces. Special education spaces, none have natural light. There are no special education spaces on the 2nd floor. Science, 1 of the classrooms has no natural light. Library Media Center, no natural light. And I should mention, natural light in today's educational world is understood to be just as important, just as intrinsic to learning as, say, having quality of air, having good electricity to support computers, having safe drinking water. It's seen as a necessity, not a luxury. The resource rooms are not distributed throughout the school. These would be the small instructional spaces for one-on-one or small group learning. And the drama space is not located near the stage or the physical education facilities. And there are a number of other inadequacies as well. This shows in the plan. Here you can see the 3 spaces that are only accessible through the media center or from the outdoors. The computer lab here not co-located with the media center. The drama space here being quite distant from the stage in the gymnasium, where it would logically be located. What this means is that Kent County middle school students may be at a disadvantage relative to their peers in other parts of the state, particularly in terms of the lack of a technology program and the space to support it, the deficient number of science classrooms. Also, the building conditions are worrisome. in the sense that if they're not attended to, they could create indoor air problems. None of that exists right now, but there is that concern that that could develop through leaks. And the middle school is clearly a maintenance burden, just like the roof at Galena. It requires continuous effort on the part of the maintenance crews, and the middle school, the same thing. And I should note that middle school education has been taken so seriously that in the Eastern Shore alone in the state of Maryland, 9 middle schools have been either replaced, built new, or fully renovated since 2003. In every jurisdiction except Worcester, and Worcester has one in the lineup after they get done with their current elementary school project. So the educational specification that would be recommended for the middle school defines the educational program. It identifies the spatial requirements to support that educational program, and also identifies the support infrastructure, the information technology, the furniture, the equipment, and so forth. The feasibility study that would follow that would assess the condition of the existing facility, would look at options for renovation, and there are a number of different levels of renovation, with or without addition, and then also look at options for relocation. It has to obviously look at sites where the relocation would be located, and also what would happen to the existing facility if the program was relocated from the middle school. And it has to determine the impacts of each of these options on the educational program, on transportation, on the community, on costs, first costs, the cost of construction, but also life cycle costs, the 30-year, 40-year term of the building. The schedules for construction and occupancy, and also where would the funding come from and how would it be financed. And in addition, in terms of the long-term planning recommendations, we're recommending looking at the high school, and these are distant, these are future efforts, they are not to be undertaken right away, but to consider the renovation of selected spaces in the high school that could improve instructional efficiency. Some of the areas that have been noted already, the weight room, relocating it to the physical education area, culinary arts, and the health occupations are both distant from the CTE wing. Those spaces, if they were moved to the CTE wing, those spaces could become classrooms. The 600 wing, in its entirety except for the guidance suite, could be considered for other purposes. And of course, a lot more could emerge from a study that was done. And then in terms of reducing the total size of the facility plant, Millington Elementary School was closed for this past school year, and the recommendation is to surplus it to the county government. After the hearings at the end of September, we heard a lot of good suggestions about future use of the facility. Those don't concern Board of Education functions, and so those would be decisions that would have to be made by the county government. And secondly, that if the board does support the idea of moving the board offices from former Rock Hall Elementary to the Norton campus, then the former Rock Hall Elementary School could be surplused again to the county government. And we have as I mentioned, the qualified zone academy bond projects, which are now on hold pending this decision by the federal government. The state cannot issue its bonds without the federal tax credit, which is the basis of the program from the federal government. The projects that were being looked at are the concession stand, stadium, restrooms, and ticket booth facility, and then also some storage at the high school, planetarium renovations at the high school, and then track tennis court renovations, which actually is a safety issue. Right now, I have to put to be determined in terms of the date, because we have to now figure out, it's a new landscape, and you have to consider how to approach those projects. So at the completion of the short-term projects, every roof on every school will have been replaced. The H.H. Garnett roof was replaced in 2015 along with the mechanical system, so all of the schools will have secure roofs. Galena Elementary School will also have a secure roof, a new mechanical system, and it also will have seen improvements that will affect the utility of the building, the educational environment, and in some cases actually safety. And the board and central office functions will be operating more efficiently on the Norton campus. When the long-term planning projects are completed, there'll be a plan of how to move forward with Cape County Middle School, with all the options having been considered and decided upon. And for the high school, there'll be a plan of how to move forward in terms of improving the educational spaces here. And then with the surplus of the two buildings, of course, the plan to be operating more efficiently, we do a minimum annual savings of about $99,000 through operating costs, and I think that's very much on the low side. So with that, covers the recommendations, and at this point, we'd like to hear from you. Please use the microphone to come forward. There's no sign-up list, just please come forward.
Well, we would like for them to designate their name.
I would just state that there's no sign-up list required before coming up, but once you do speak, we would like for you to at least indicate your name so that we can appropriately put that into the minutes.
Hi, my name is Jody Bortz. I am going to be speaking for myself, and I also am going to be reading a statement from Nathan Schroyer, and also from Robbie Bear. So I'll start with Nathan's statement. Again, these statements are their statements and not my statements. So I'm going to just read to you what they wanted to share. They could not be here tonight. This is from Nathan Schroyer. I attended 3 of the facilities planning meetings. At the final, probably most important meeting, I was shocked how the entire effort came down to 3 over 65 white men who dominated the meeting. Throughout, I was disappointed how little to no community and parent participation was welcomed and encouraged, especially as other community meetings I was attending in tandem on KCPS were packed, fully representative, and standing room only. At first, when the effort seemed to aim towards a whopping $80 million investment in moving our quality middle school facility away from its very nice existing Chestertown campus, I was asking that we not pre-expense our future dollars for education too hastily. At later meetings, I was aghast how quickly the representatives from KCPS and our county administrator moved to agree with a facilities plan that only cursorily could be called comprehensive and which adjusted to the lowest threshold of support for KCPS facilities. There was zero creativity, innovation, or great opportunities generated by this plan. Essentially, the decision, as I understand it, is to fix 2 roofs and have 1 HVAC. This means giving attention primarily to only 2 of the 5 remaining schools and to mothball former Wharton Elementary. No ADA compliance for Garnett, actually nothing, zip for Garnett or Rock Hall. This for me is a sad reminder that like a math equation, if you put in a certain formulaic weight to a planning process, you will only end up with the available number of results. In this case, no investment needed. Little to no engagement of a currently very engaged public on the subject of our schools, taking together with a staff committee of people clearly not interested in innovation or creative redesign solutions, who are primarily interested in drawing down the bottom line to the least necessary investment possible to satisfy state, DOE, and health standards. We got what the CC and the BOE wanted when this committee was formed, the least possible. Parents, teachers, administrators, and the whole community should be up in arms. The consultant should have been fired. Finally, I want to note some good I saw. First, that the most qualified person to be on this committee, the committee chair Jeff Brodsky, managed meetings well from the standpoint of discerning the committee's central interest. However, in following that role, we never heard from him enough as an experienced leader in terms of guiding our potential. Second, parents participated throughout. Having a talented and thoughtful parent on the committee, Francois Sullivan, was a terrific help to ask the right questions and bring forward our previous community efforts. However, her voice was effectively silenced by the patriarchal quality of retirees who see themselves as the best authorities for good governance. Brodsky and Sullivan had the wisdom and experience to shape a better plan, and KCPS deserves leadership that can build and maintain facilities to grow our system into the opportunity of a real visionary 21st century asset. In closing, this county needs to work on public participation and community engagement. This whole effort should be shelved until the county, DOE, CC, and administration can commit to a renewed effort that is serious about community engagement, innovation, and answering the 21st century call for a quality education for our citizens and the serious care of the whole child and a whole life for all our citizens. Yours very truly, Nathan Schroyer, parent. And next I'll share Robbie's statement, which she just sent to me all the way here. This is from Robbie Bear, also a parent. I have unfortunately been able to attend a single community meeting for this committee. All through the fault of yours, there have been plenty of meetings, I just happen to not be able to make any of them. I've been following along through the various meeting write-ups and submitted my survey at the beginning of the process. I had initially been quite excited by the purported goal of putting in place a long-term vision for our schools that would give us something to aim for. While some of the early pie-in-the-sky ideas seemed exactly that, I was hopeful that setting our sights high would mean that we would compromise down to something that was achievable, while also allowing us something visionary to strive for. I'm incredibly disappointed to find that somehow our vision has been boiled down to fixing some roofs and putting in some windows, items which, as far as I'm concerned, should be the bottom level projects that should have already been taken care of in the past 20 years with routine maintenance and reasonable structural upgrades, but which instead have been neglected because of penny pinching. If KCPS is going to get anyone in the community to buy into our success, we have to give everyone something to get excited about. We have to show them where we could be with their help and investment. If we could say in 15 years we'll have the state-of-the-art X, Y, or Z that will be in the envy of schools all over the shore, then we can start down that path of building something special. People like to be part of something special. Unfortunately, it seems that because of a few naysayers on this committee, we stumbled down the path of what can we afford, which we all know is nothing. That's not the question this committee should have been asking. Investments of hard work and resources flow towards big ideas, and trying to create a rallying cry behind a frankly bare minimum level of building maintenance is an unfortunate waste of everyone's time and effort. I would like to thank you for the time you have put into this project, particularly those of you who signed up because you wanted more for us. I'm just sorry that this committee has suffered the fate of many efforts in Kent County, the idea that we somehow don't deserve and can't ask for anything better than the bare minimum. And that's the end of Robbie's comments. So my comments are as follows. I'm a parent and business owner in County Member support our schools, and I am a product of the Kent County Public School System. I currently have 2 children enrolled. And I want to tell you that I'm also disappointed in the committee recommendations so far. The first meeting minutes included discussions of new facilities, upgrades, technology, and yet here we are begging to get the roofs fixed. Again, arguing about whether or not children should spend entire days without seeing sunlight. Arguing about whether or not it's worth making the investment in our schools in our future, because does Kent County even have a future? I'm tired of hearing about how our school enrollment is declining. I'm tired of hearing how Kent County population is declining. I'm tired of hearing that children are too small a part of the population to invest in. I'm tired of hearing we need to accept that Kent County has become a retirement community. I know lots of retired people, and they don't believe that, or want that, and they're tired of being blamed. All of these problems can be fixed. Don't you see that fixing the school infrastructure is one piece towards fixing the overall decline that we've been seeing, not just in our school population, but in our community as well? It's called investment. Ed Mentor used to say to me, begin with the end in mind. It's clear from the meeting minutes that you all did not have the same end in mind, and some of you are really only focused on ensuring no money gets invested beyond the bare minimum. I've been hearing about the HVAC and other necessary repairs for a few years now. They're considerably more expensive now than the first time I heard about them, and other big repairs are looming in the near future. Kent County is shrinking, but it doesn't have to be. It's such a great place to grow up and to live, and I know lots of people that would live here if things were different. We also have some major fights coming at us to preserve our way of life. If we don't invest in ourselves and in our children and in our future, it seems clear there are folks on the Western Shore that would be happy to build a bridge to Tolchester and invest over here. I don't think any of us would like that outcome. But here we are, paving their way by refusing to do for ourselves. I'm tired of leadership shirking us ownership, the current state of things saying no to any vision of Kent County that includes better education. Good enough isn't good enough. Our kids deserve schools without leaky roofs, with modern technology, with access for all, and with spaces that are conducive to learning. That was your charge. What was presented here tonight does not come close to meeting that objective. Thank you.
Anyone else like to make any more comments?
My name is Tom Mason. My children grew up here in Kent County schools, and I don't have any children now, but I've got grandchildren that will be coming and be in the schools. First, I would like to thank the committee for the work they've done. I know they've put a lot of time and effort into it, even though some of us may not agree with what they've come up with. There's a couple things here which I think are missing entirely. I don't see why we're moving the Board of Education office from Rock Hall to Wharton, when just a few years ago we spent a pile of money renovating Rock Hall because that was the best thing to do. It seems like sometimes we do things and then later, for whatever reason, we want to change them. And I imagine that's because they're tired of driving to Rock Hall. I don't know. The other thing is, which I have not heard, why aren't we talking about building a state-of-the-art elementary school for Kent County? When the Kent County High School was built years ago, and I came right when moved to Kent County right when it was built, I always thought the plan was this was going to be our county center where our schools would be. We have our community center here, our parks here. It was mentioned how much we were going to save elementary at the Wharton because we might need it someday. Well, why not build a state-of-the-art here instead of spending money on these old buildings? There comes a point where you're just throwing money down the rat hole. We built a new dairy 5 or 6 years ago. We could have renovated our old facilities. But when I look back on that now, that would have been the worst thing we could do. And I was talking about spending money now to renovate these schools. This money could be put in a state-of-the-art. Think about the children. Have something that everybody can really be proud of. Now, I know there would be a fight. We fight over. We don't want to give up our school in Galena. We already went through it with Millington and Morton. But if you give up all of them, and have one state-of-the-art, when the high school was built, I'm sure that Chestertown, Galena, and Rock Hall people were upset because we now don't have our high school because of that community pride. But I look, and I did not hear that mentioned at all tonight. I don't know if the committee ever discussed it. The money you can spend on renovations, you can build an elementary school. I have a friend of mine in Harvard County that said they're building a new elementary school for $50 million. A lot of money. But then you're going to have something. And there's ways to fund this. We do not want to be thinking about, I don't know if the committee's thinking about raising property taxes. This county cannot afford an increase in property taxes if you want to have people coming here. There's other ways that you can fund schools besides property taxes. I personally think that's something that needs to go by the wayside of just letting certain individuals fund all our education for our children and wherever you are. Everybody needs to be paying their fair share. But I really think maybe we need to just slow down, back up a little bit, not think about we have the board or the central office moving to Wharton by this fall. Maybe we need to back up and say, is that really necessary? I think the figure I heard was $300,000. Is that really necessary to spend $300,000? In the big picture of the thing, that's not much money. But it's still a lot of money. And individuals, $300,000 is a lot of money. But you gotta remember, it's not your money you're spending, it's our money. So let's back up maybe and just think about this a little more and look at some other, and I know we have a consultant, and nothing against you personally, but a lot of times a consultant comes in, they don't live here. And they're giving from their experience what might work. But and I don't know where you live or anything else, but you're going to go back home. This is our home. These are our children. I mean, like I said, I have grandchildren, one that could be starting school next year, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we're going to encourage my son and his wife to send them to public schools. They may be going to have to go to a private school. And I hate to say that because I think we should have public education, but it needs to be good public education. Thank you.
else? Please, that's what we'd like to hear from everyone if possible. Obviously, you came because you were interested. Even if it's a short comment, we're interested in hearing it.
Also, this is the preliminary presentation, so we are going to take your comments into consideration before we prepare a final presentation for the Board of Ed and for the County Commissioners. So this is probably one of the last times that you can give us your input. So if you are hesitating for any reason, don't, please. We need your input.
Thank you. Come on up.
Jim Maxer, Chester Town Hall Loop. Moved here about 8 years ago. Come from a town in New Jersey, I know you might not like that, that's beside the point. Had the same situations in our high schools and our grammar schools in that area. With a population of over 300,000, where you only have 20,000. So I can sympathize with what you're going through, but I have a situation. That gentleman had mentioned something. I look at, I'm a bricklayer by trade. I built schools as a contractor. I look at what you have here. High school is beautiful, very well done. I see PG tile, most people don't even know what that is. I built this stuff. I look at that Morton School over here. Nothing there. Nobody's using that building, and you want to move a Board of Education into that. If you have a situation, that gentleman said there's a state-of-the-art situation you could put here. That school, if I'm not mistaken, was built, what, 30 years ago? About that?
No. Let's more than that.
35 years ago. I know the masonry, the masonry on that building, which I do, is important. Going up and going out. Utilizing this area. That gentleman had a lot to say. Is there any comment from you people right now on what he had to say about using that particular school rather than using it for a Board of Education, which you already have in Rockport? I don't think that's that far to drive. I don't know. I don't drive every day.
Right, so I would like to clarify, it wasn't, the discussions that we had regarding the Board of Ed moving, essentially we were thinking about, again, long-term, of what we might do if we can continue to lose enrollment. And I think the thinking that we had is, you're exactly correct. We did not want to surplus that building and give it, back to the county and then later come back and say, oh my gosh, that land or that building could be renovated into something else. It could be, it could be perhaps gutted and the outside of it maintained, and it could be potentially a new elementary or a new middle school, or bringing the middle school students to this campus. But I think, and the reason why the Board of Ed moving in there and spending the minimum amount, we put in place $300,000, but the thinking of the committee was we would just make it, use whatever we needed to make it occupiable we're not looking at doing a lot of renovation, just to move us there and to keep it occupied, because empty buildings that are not occupied tend to diminish or run down. So moving into there, utilizing the facility, waiting until we get more information about will economic development happen and will that building be better used as something else, then perhaps at that point in time we can think about a permanent place for the Board of Ed, whether it be occupying a wing at the high school, or if we build a new facility, then maybe building office space. The other thing, right now, we have part of central office that are housed here at the high school. We also have buses that are temporarily housed at the in the county building at Nordneck, Public Works. We have to find a permanent location for those buses, and bringing all of the central office functions together in the same location, we feel like would be better efficiencies with our central office, and also bringing everyone together. Right now, bus drivers and our buses are making trips to Rock Hall, and we're having to pay for the fuel for them to come to meetings or whatever. If we house everybody in the same location, there could be some savings within our district budget in that way. We're not saying that the committee was unwilling to say that would ultimately be the permanent location of the Board of Ed, but we were trying to pare down our facilities, and if we were to do that, then we could surplus the Board of Ed office in Rock Hall, because I think we all talked about the likelihood of needing another school in Rock Hall is probably not going to happen. So if we surplus that building, then that's one less building we have to worry about. We don't have to worry about the Millington. Then the Board of Ed could temporarily, occupy the Wharton campus until we make a decision about what we're going to do in the future. We don't have enough information to say, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. We just felt like we were a little bit premature, and we wanted to slow down a little bit in order to give us some time to think about ultimately, what we needed to do with the facility. But everyone unanimously agreed that surplusing Wharton Elementary would be a huge mistake. So, it's a matter of, do you board it up and leave it unoccupied, which we didn't think was a good option. I know someone said, what about building a mega elementary school? We struggled with that as well. And I will tell you that the biggest problem that we have is right now with our 3 existing elementary schools, we have students on the bus up to about an hour to an hour and a half. I'm not saying it's a bad idea ultimately to have one elementary school, but we'd be busing students potentially 2 hours, potentially over 2 hours. Our smallest, our youngest children, 5 years old, 2 hours to a central location in the morning and then 2 hours home. I think that's going to be a hard sell, and I think that's the problem with being a rural community, with having to bus in kids from, outlying areas of the county. So that's where we arrived at. Keeping the 3 elementary schools where they are makes the best sense right now, because even though we are busing students at a great distance, we minimize. I'm not saying that, at some point in time, we may have to do it whether we like it or not, if we continue to lose kids. And if we, right now, our elementary schools have, 2 of our elementary schools are about 350 students, which in the past, when we had our 5 elementary schools, we had about 180 kids, 150 kids in our schools. So, we feel like we're maximizing the utilization of those 3 schools. If we continue to lose students and we're back down to 100 kids or 150 kids, we may have no choice. And I think that's why protection and keeping that Wharton facility makes best sense, because then that's what it may have to be, is that mega elementary school. And, I just personally, from my perspective, I think it's premature to say that we're going to have our students bused right now and build a new mega elementary school. That's just the thinking. I just wanted to
That's
share
very
that.
nice, thank you. My question is this: geographically, Wharton School, is that centrally located in this county?
It's more central than, I mean, obviously Rock Hall and Millington and Galena. In the past, central office was located in Chestertown, which is the county seat. So, but I would say Wharton is out in the middle. I mean, it's
So
a
you
very nice
say
central
2 hours students are traveling now. If they are centralized in this area in Wharton, what approximately, I know you probably haven't got this off the top of your head, but what would it be if the school was here in Wharton? What would be the distances coming in? What would be the worst case scenario? 2 hours? You still already have 2 hours.
Right now, we've got students in our outlying schools. I think Garnett has the shortest bus routes. I mean, we've got transportation now. He could probably speak to this a lot better than I can. But Garnett has the shortest bus routes for all of our students. I mean, we can bus them 30 minutes, probably 40 minutes in some cases. But it's our outlying schools, Rock Hall and Galena, and then also.
Now, I live
Excuse me,
in
let me say thank you. I just wanted to get that question across and you can continue on. I'm going to go back where I was.
Oh, okay.
I live in Wharton and my daughter goes to Galena and I drive her to school, but we have friends who live in Betterton and also in Wharton, and they are on the bus for over an hour, just to get from Wharton to Galena. So Millington, I think, would add another, at least half an hour to that.
Yeah. So we just felt like positioning those elementary schools where they are, it hits the outer areas of our county on both ends, east and west, and then we have centrally located elementary school, which would be Garnett. And of course, we do have one elementary school, so some of those students are on the bus for a while. And Joe, you're out there. How long is, of course, we're going to Garnett. How long are some of our students on the bus? Well, not Garnett. I mean, going to the middle school because that's like right on campus. Yeah. Come up to the mic, Joe, because it's pretty hard. I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry. Yeah. So, yes, thinking coming from the furthest end, either north or south, it doesn't matter.
So I use the Millington, Galena, the Golds, Massey area.
Okay, yeah.
Pick up middle school run maybe an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes. Yeah. So you got some kids getting on the bus early in the morning up in those areas? I'm sorry?
What about to the high school? So long as it's
So
around
that's,
to the high
it's
school?
about the same.
Right. So, I mean, right now we've got some of our youngest kids that, for the most part, we try to keep their bus routes as short as we can. I understand that, we try to minimize that by keeping the elementary schools positioned where they are. I understand that we might have to do that at some point, centralize everything. But I think right now, the schools are full and we have them positioned where they're at. I think it would be personally, I think it would be a hard sell to bus everybody in, and it would take considerable investment. Like you said, $50 million to build a new elementary school. I don't know that we're in a position to request that, but I'm not going to speak to that right now because I don't have all the information.
If I could just add one thing. I mentioned before the uncertainty about the enrollments. And right now, just to give an example, for Galena Elementary School, it's operating at about 81% utilization. It's projected to go up to about 85% utilization on paper, but for the day-to-day operation of the school, actually the spaces are being completely used and the circulation is not easy because of the kinds of conflicts that I mentioned. Now, the rent for the improvements might bring more housing to that area, more population. Those kids are likely to go to Galena. The introduction of the fiber across the county may bring increases of population in certain areas. Galena right now probably could not handle an additional, let's say, 50 kids. I'm just going to guess that would probably be beyond the tipping point, and something would have to be done. But we're very uncertain. We don't really know what's going to happen. And part of the virtue of taking a pause, of taking care of the roots, the immediate problems that have to be addressed. Obviously, there's a fiscal reason behind that, the fiscal constraints, but also because that gives us then a bit of time to see what directions the enrollments are going in response to some of these changes that are happening as we speak. So I think in a few years, probably 2 years or 3 years, we'll be in a better position to be able to say what direction the enrollments are going.
Hi, I'm David Foster, and I really did not intend to speak when I came this evening. I'm also an engineer and a planner, and I recognize the tremendous amount of work that's gone into this, and I really appreciate that. I want to share with you just one perspective a little bit different. And I know when you put up the demographic information there, and particularly that in 2040, and it wasn't the intent, I don't believe, but it gave the perspective that this was going to be kind of retirees versus young families. And what I want to share with you is, I'm speaking only for myself, but I'm also on the town council in Chestertown, ran for election this last fall, and ran in the, let's say, the most mature, oldest section of Chestertown, including the retirement home, Heron Point. And the single most frequent question I got was, what about the schools? Well, the town council has nothing, no authority over the school, but what I'm trying to tell you is that the older population was very, very interested in the schools. The older population was very interested in attracting young families. They were very interested in where their grandchildren were going to go to school. So please don't take away from that demographic chart that this is young families versus older ones. I think the entire county is interested in your schools and anything we can do to help with them. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Good evening. Wendy Costa, I'm a member of the school board. I just wondered how much it really will cost to renovate Wharton so that the central office can move there. $300,000 seems like a huge amount to me. I don't know where that figure came from, but realistically, how could we do it for considerably less money than that? That's my question.
Well, I think, I would just go ahead and answer that. I mean, I think it's the determination of the Board of Ed. I mean, we set a budget, we know for sure we're gonna have to build a permanent bus depot, so we know we're gonna have to engage in some, preparing for that. We've already been into the Wharton Elementary, and we've already decided that, we could obviously occupy one wing of the building and not necessarily use the other. We could lease the other side and potentially, generate some revenue in that regard. That's one idea. But we said let's not go into a lot of building walls and doing a lot of permanent things like that. Let's just, make it, we can use cubicles or that kind of thing, just as long as we have spaces where we can have private meetings with employees if we need to. I mean, you don't want to have just disciplinary conversation with an employee in an open space. I don't think that's appropriate. So, just doing the minimum of what we would need to do, in order to prepare, and as Dr. Weaver said, just give us pause to make a final determination of what, where we should land, if you will, and I think everybody believes it needs to be centrally located. It doesn't make sense, central office, I wasn't part of that decision, I understand that. I'm here, I accept the fact that those decisions were made. I don't know the ultimate thinking or how that came about, but what I'm trying to do is to put us in a situation where we don't make back and forth decisions, where we do something and then say, wow, why did we do that? We shouldn't have done that. So, I do believe that putting central office in a centrally located campus or location will hopefully generate more parent engagement and more community engagement, because you don't have to me it seems silly that, maybe it's not silly, it seems, I hear this a lot, people say they don't want to go all the way out to Rock Hall, so maybe if you have a place where they can come and know they can come to meetings, it's more centrally located, hopefully you can have better community engagement. And then, I think that there's some conversation of whether we should be in high school, if that's the right idea, but I don't want to spend money renovating, again, thinking of that, spend money renovating an area at the high school, and then we end up growing, or we need the space, and then we say, oh, well, why do we do that? Now we've got to undo that. So we're kind of in a situation where, we're trying to think about declining enrollments, the potential of increasing enrollments, and what does the future need to look like, and how can we plan for that future? And I think that, again, just going back to what we discussed, we think that keeping all of our facilities on the Wharton campus is important, just because we want to provide that flexibility to think about adjusting up or down about what might happen with student enrollments. And so, I think that where that budget came from, we just kind of thought about, okay, it's probably going to cost maybe $60,000 for the things that we have to do for the bus depot. We think we can get it for considerably less, but I don't want to short change and say, well, you said this or you said that. I just feel like we need to give ourselves a little bit of space for what might need to be done. And that's that. I mean, we'll spend what we need to, and that's all.
Good evening, P.S. Harris Smith Millington. I'm not sure that this is the proper venue for my concerns, but I don't know of any better one. And it seems that you've put a lot of work into sort of brick and mortar and resource management issues, and I appreciate that. My concern is more philosophical or abstract. I spent the last 13 years of my career working as a program manager in a federal bureau, and am fairly familiar with the human dynamic that involves. And in the 3 years that I've been following this, it certainly seems to be my impression, and I'd be grateful if you told me that I was wrong, but that the county executives have seemed to have built a political firewall around the public school system and its shortcomings. It certainly doesn't seem as if the relationship between the county commissioners and the various other political bodies within the county that are trying to solve these issues, I would describe that relationship as being synergetic or collaborative. And I don't think it's a problem that should be on your shoulders. But since you are here and asking us what my concerns are, I wondered if there's anything that you could say that might indicate that the future might be a little bit better in that regard. Because it seems as if, to a large degree, the county has put the school on a starvation diet, which doesn't bode well. Thank you.
evening. I'm a taxpayer and a parent to students at Galena Elementary. My daughter's in 5th grade, getting ready to go to middle school. And hearing that there's leaks in the school, concerning. I know you guys have plans for, everybody has their own idea of what should happen and what's not gonna happen, what have you. I just hope you listen to what parents have to say. I don't know if you've thought about a trailer for your offices. I know the high school has a couple trailers, I'm not sure that they're all in use. They're pretty reasonably priced, not $300,000, but, and they usually have a bathroom, nice area to sit, offices, what you need, whatever. But I don't know if you've thought of using Wharton as a middle school, improvements, utilizing the high school for their gymnasium, their, many programs. I think it's a good way to introduce them to the high school a little sooner. I know there's so many thoughts out there that I hope decisions are made with the future in mind. And I mean, the cost of things are gonna rise. It's our world, that's what we're dealing with. But I'm really concerned for my kids. My husband and I talk all the time, we're considering pulling out just because we're not sure that they're the number one thought in this county with the school and with their future. So, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Oakley. I live in the Wharton area. I have 2 boys that have come up through the educational process, both attending Galena Elementary and Millington Elementary schools. I didn't plan on also speaking tonight. However, when Dr. Couch brought up the idea of moving the board office up to Wharton Elementary School for $300,000, yet my question is we have some very unique programs here at the high school, one of which is represented right here. And this gentleman's been going through everything he can to try and fund renovation of his students' facility. I think $300,000 would have been very adequate to help this gentleman fund a program that is unique to the Eastern Shore, and not only to the Eastern Shore, but to the high school.
State of Maryland. Also.
And the state of Maryland, correct, yes.
Radio station.
Yes, I listen to it frequently, not because my son is a program manager there, but because I enjoy the program. $300,000 could be well spent on facilities here. I speak from a lot of sports because both my sons participated in football. And our stadium here, thanks to the past year, thanks to you, Ms. Williams, we got a new field. Also thanks to the board too, and some assistance from the county. But, we put our best foot forward with that facility over there. And having to tell parents all the time, well, oh yeah, our bathrooms are outside the front door there. It's the 2 large plastic items out there. It doesn't go over well. I work at the concession stand. Okay? That facility falling apart slowly. And I know that the water program that we just went through to try and also keep the new field rolling is only housed in the back of that facility, also which has a roof that is slowly falling apart and leaking. You talk about a bus depot for the building, for housing the new buses. $300,000 could renovate the facility we have right out back here where the antenna's at, behind the community center. And that facility right there has pre-existing fencing. It could be used for bus storage and as offices for the bus drivers and meetings and so forth. I just think $300,000 could be better spent
through the educational facilities, rather than having to move the board up to a more central location. Right now, I'm not saying it can't be done later on, but for right now, with everything that's being proposed, and with some of the other incidents going on around the school district, I think it's better spent in a different way. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask you a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Putting aside the cost for $300,000, do you think it is a good idea to have the board located at the Wharton facility campus as opposed to in Rock Hall?
The proposal is also in your recommendation to be moved to the high school. So my question is instead of opening another building up and having to reinvent the wheel over there for the board, why can't it be done in a facility that's already being maintained, whereas that building is being held in status quo, so to speak? Are we guaranteed that we're going to have input or influx of other businesses to that facility? That's going to be kind of like an up in the air thing.
Part of the problem is there is a cost to keeping the facility even if it's not occupied. And in fact, because it's simply, heating.
Okay. I know, about meetings and so forth, I understand that point. But the question is you have the space here at the 600 wing as it's being proposed now, then, okay, make the temporary move of the board to a facility here instead of reopening a whole building and then hoping that someone's going to come in and occupy another section of the building.
We did, and we have discussed about the, and I'm just a parent, I'm just a parent on the committee.
I understand that.
But we did talk about what it would take to move the central offices into the high school. And there was a concern, there's still gonna be a cost associated with it.
I understand that. I totally get
But you
that.
also need to keep the populations different. The way the Board of Ed office is now, anybody can walk into that office and talk to whoever, the front office or whoever is there. We need to have a separate entrance that was very near where that part of the office was in the high school, so that people aren't just coming through the high school and walking through the population of the high school. So there are safety concerns.
Agreed.
If it was,
My other question is when you just touched on safety concerns. This facility, Glen Elementary, and I know we've already outlined it for Glen Elementary, but most of these schools have no way of shutting down a person that could be a potential problem. Other than the buzzing them in during the day. But this school, it's an open target. Speaking from someone that also is a member of the Emergency Services Division for the county as a volunteer, my biggest fear is finding out that there is going to be a possible issue at the high school, at any of the county schools. Okay? And security, I think, should be one of the bigger priorities for our schools with $300,000. And, to me, that's the one thing I don't want to hear, is that there's an issue at the high school or an issue at any school involving a possible shooter. That's just going to be a problem I just dread.
could not agree more. I don't think any of us.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But to me, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
It gets
Surplus it. Goes back to the county and then we don't have to pay for the heating and cooling and maintaining that building. That building is basically off our list of responsibilities, so there would be savings there. Yeah, come on up, please.
Looking around the room here, I'm a little concerned. Where is our African American population? And I know that's not the committee's fault. It's not on the committee either. I mean, there's one gentleman here, but where, and I know you can't make people come to a meeting, and notoriously King County, and I don't care what kind of meeting it is, does not get people out to meetings. You know, I used to be an educator, used to be an extension agent, we'd have farm meetings, and why don't they come? It's a good program. Why don't they come? And so I'm not saying that somehow I'm afraid whatever's done might come back to haunt us. So, I mean, it's just a comment, I guess, more than anything. The other thing, on the bus ride for elementary school children, I'd rather have my grandchildren spending 15 more minutes on the bus if they're going to a state-of-the-art facility to get a better education, have better facilities, than riding 15 minutes less to some other facility. I don't think we want to cloud our thoughts on how long a child is on the bus. Some of them will always be on the bus a long time, depending on where you live. And that's just the way life is. But I don't want to fight to build one elementary school in King County. And the thing about putting a business element in Morton, where are you getting this business? I mean, King County is not a business-friendly place at this point. Until we change our attitudes, change our planning and zoning, and look really towards doing some good, clean industry or technology of some kind, but they fight everything. I mean, it took 2 years to get the approval for the Dollar General in Morton. 2 years. And that was on ground that was zoned to do that where that's supposed to happen. So as long as you still have those attitudes, we've got a real fight on our hands. And by bringing in industry, we're bringing in more money. And that's what, to do all of this, we need more money. That's the key to all of it.
Just two things I was going to say. Please vote in November, everybody. And also that we discussed new construction and those sorts of things. And while they didn't necessarily make it into our preliminary plan, it is something that we had discussed. But even if our final plan was to build a central state-of-the-art elementary school, our schools are at the point now where the principal at my school, when it rains, puts a pot next to her desk because it's raining. We can't ignore the renovations that have to take place now, that are dire now. And so the money for those renovations has to come from a budget now. It has to happen now. As far as I'm concerned as a parent, my daughter's in a classroom that has no windows, and that has to change now. I'm not saying spend $1 million to put those windows in, but if it's going to take 10 or 15 years to construct a new state-of-the-art campus, to raise the $50 million, the $30 million, the $20 million in this county that we may need, we still need to take care of the students that are in those schools that need the help now. Is all. Like I said, as a parent, I kind of dig the idea of a central state-of-the-art elementary school, and as a resident of Morton, I especially like the idea because I'm 5 minutes away. It's very convenient for me, but we still need to take care of the schools that have to be taken care of.
I was just going to note that we also provided opportunities for parents and community members to fill out online comments, and so we probably have over 150 of those comments that we analyzed and talked about them in our committee meetings. And I think there were two major assumptions that came out of those comments, and also the other 3 community meetings that we had, was everybody agreed that they wanted central office to be more centrally located. I mean, that was a theme that came out, and so that that came about, and then to surplus as many buildings as we could, as soon as we could, just so that we could get them off our books and save money with regard to heating and cooling. So I just wanted to share that. Other committee members, you've got mics over there, you're more than welcome to comment, or you don't have to be the table of comments here.
No, it's on Tim.
Hi, I'm Holly Matheson. I am the parent of graduates from Kent County. I am the grandmother of a future child in Kent County public school system. I am the mother-in-law of a teacher here, but I'm wanted this sort of because I think we're ending sort of end on an up note. I run a Montessori school in Wharton. This is our 26th year. I've had Tracy's children there. I have Francois' younger child, have her older child there. We had a big dip some years ago, 2008, when private preschool, and we started at age 2 and go through kindergarten, it's a 2-room schoolhouse. We had a substantial dip, and somehow we just kept going, and it's probably because I don't understand all the finances. I don't understand all pie charts and things. I understand children. We are full this year. We have many new families that came to Kent County. We are full for the first time since 2007. And I think the reason is we put children first. And that's something to get excited about. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Why don't you just sit up in the front?
My question is this, I don't see many people here. And I'm wondering if because of the time of the meeting, by the way, hello, I didn't know you were there. Thank you all for doing what you're doing, that's number one. Number two, do you think maybe a different time element for the community to have, to come to these meetings? 6 o'clock, I live in Coventry, the park, you know where it is. Those people are all working people. They can't get here at 6 o'clock, they can't get here at 7. Some of them don't even get home until 8. They work in DC from where I live. That's a whole. I was wondering if there was a situation, maybe you could possibly try to get more turnout, maybe on a day that everybody could possibly come here. Is that possible?
We have tried, and I can tell you, speaking
I know it's tough.
as somebody on any other committee and PTA, it is a struggle to get people to come. I literally spent most of today and yesterday personally emailing people that I know, clients that I have, people that I know that are involved in other committees in the county to please come and please give their input. And same with parents at my school. I said, we were talking about some significant renovation at Galena, and I don't know that if we don't have a show of support, and if people don't support it, if it's going to happen. I don't know why people aren't coming. We've tried different times, we've tried different days. If we do it in the day, we're told that parents can't come because they work. If we do it too late in the evening, we're told that, there's no golden hour.
What you're saying is it's been looked at and it hasn't worked.
That's why we got online, that's why we got the online. We even attached presentation to the online and we sent robocalls out to the families to tell them about tonight. I mean, did a lot of different things, I know.
One other thing, could you introduce yourselves?
That's probably a good idea.
Thank you, by the way, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Grotsky, and I'm the chair of this committee.
My name is Francois Sullivan. I'm a parent and community member and local small business owner.
ELS.
Richard Coulter.
Shelley Heller. Tracy Williams.
And I know Joe Wheeler came up and spoke, but he's also part of this committee. He didn't sit up here with us and he left, so what can I say? But he was part of the committee.
He's out with, he wants out with.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that he was part of this committee.
There he is.
He's back. Yeah, I was saying you are part of this committee.
Thank you very much for coming.
Hello, my name's Tim O'Brien. Here in Chestertown, I got 2 kids, 10 and one in the elementary school, one in high school. Just want to say thank you for all your good work. It's been an issue that's been with us since we moved here 7 years ago. Honestly, last 3 years, we've debated every year whether or not we should move, like many of our friends have, move their kids across the line. Most of the kids are doing very well here. If their parent is active, the schools are good. But that does not deny the fact that I think your hands are tied in many respects. The Friendship Montessori teacher is absolutely correct. If people do not feel the county commissioners have any, priority for this county's children, it's not lost on people. You're in many ways trying to put makeup on a pig in many ways that is not fair to you or the kids' children, and the county commissioners seem to have a firewall, as one gentleman put it, of denial or lack of interest, I guess, or just not thinking that anything's wrong because they're just completely oblivious to what the children have to deal with here. And the fact that good families want to move to Kent County. This is a wonderful place to live. I can name, 6 or 7 families that actually used to live or wanted to live in Chestertown. They go to the college, that have good families, good incomes, that should be part of this community, that they live on the Queen Anne side. You do real estate, you want to buy a house here, you just do the Zillow, you look at the counties, the ranking of Kent County is low compared to across there, you look at the brand new facilities they have. There is that build it and they will come. There needs to be some sort of vision here rather than stagnation of we don't know what to do, are we growing, are we sinking? You should just go ahead and make the assumption we're going to continue sinking and have lower and lower enrollment until someone actually can come here and say there is a reason to invest long term, and that is not your responsibility. That's a larger issue on the countywide level. But my main question is I see many other areas that are getting funding outside of the commission or the county system that are applying for state, federal grants that are not solely dependent on this, and they get new facilities. I don't understand or know if Kent County is going as aggressively as it can for funding to circumnavigate the commissioners to get the funding that is actually deserved, and rather than just accept the minimum they're going to give to the county and the children and make do with that. There needs to be a change on a bigger level in order for people to actually show up and think that something's going to change and they're not wasting their time, because things don't ever change here. So that, I have a positive. I'm here. I brought my family here. We're still considering whether we made the right move or not. But we're very happy. We want to stay. Many other people want to. I don't understand how people don't realize that, quality of life, education is like, you don't even have to get off the internet to decide if you want to even take a look at this town or not, when you look at the rankings. Thank you.
Thank you.
think just about everybody who was here spoke. There's a few people that haven't spoken, so I'll give you one last opportunity before we close. I guess with that, I'll just thank you for coming. Thank you for taking your time to share your comments. Please, if you know of someone who would still like to weigh in on the recommendations, they're on our website. This PowerPoint presentation is on our website. The handout that you got this evening is on our website. There is a form that you can fill out that you can also submit written comments, or any of your friends or community members that couldn't make it tonight. We are videotaping tonight's presentation, and we will also post that on the website so that anyone can access the presentation and hear the comments and still have an opportunity to weigh in before we make the final recommendations to the Board of Ed. We are planning another committee meeting next week, and all of our committee meetings are open to the public. You can access the date of that meeting. I don't have it in front of me. It's the 17th. From 4:30 to whatever time it takes, and it's going to be at the middle school. And it's at the media center. You're all welcome to attend our open meetings. You can read all of our minutes. We did a really. We try to keep it as open as possible. All of the meetings, you can, meeting minutes you can access. If you're interested, you can hear the thinking and the conversations of the group. All I can say in closing is these are all difficult decisions and all difficult ways of thinking in terms of how we address the future. I don't think any of us have all of the answers. We did our best to try to plan for the future and be as flexible as possible. So with that, I thank you for coming and thank you for your comments.